Welcome to our final outcome on planning research. Here we turn to the sources your project stands on, how to gather a genuine range of them, and how to justify why each one earns its place. Here's a blunt truth. Your project is only as trustworthy as the sources it's built on. Good ones bring evidence, authority, and balance. Weak ones quietly undermine everything you write. So this outcome is about choosing a range of appropriate sources and, crucially, justifying each, explaining what it adds and why it can be trusted. Markers reward a considered mix of credible sources, not a random list of websites. When we say a range of sources, we mean genuine variety, different types, viewpoints, and levels of authority. Lean on just one kind, all websites, or a single textbook, and you get a narrow, possibly biased picture. A good range mixes primary and secondary, academic and practitioner, and more than one perspective. It also feeds triangulation, checking a point against several independent sources before you trust it. Let's sort sources into types. A primary source is original, first-hand evidence, your own survey data, an interview, or a company's own annual report. A secondary source is someone else's interpretation of that material, a textbook, a journal article, a news report. And then there's grey literature, material outside formal publishing, like government reports or trade body papers. You'll want a blend of all three. It's worth knowing what each type is best for. Textbooks, like Saunders and colleagues, give you theory and definitions. Peer-reviewed journal articles bring depth and credibility. Official statistics from ONS or gov.uk offer reliable data and trends. Company sources, such as annual reports or the FAME database, give facts on a specific firm. Market data from Statista or Mintel covers industry figures, and the Quality Press, the Financial Times, the BBC, supplies current context and examples. Start with books and textbooks. Their strength is clear, well-structured explanation of theory, edited and reviewed before publication, ideal for building your understanding and defining key terms. Just watch the edition and date, because an older book may miss recent change. For research methods, you'd reach for Bell & Waters or Denscom. For business theory, your subject textbooks. Academic journals sit high on the credibility ladder. Their articles are peer-reviewed, checked by experts before publication, so they're reliable, up-to-date, and often show the current debates in a field. You can reach them through your library, Google Scholar, or open access repositories. They can be technical, mind you, so a good tactic is to read the abstract and the conclusion first, to judge whether an article is worth your time. For hard numbers, official statistics are hard to beat. The Office for National Statistics, ONS, is the UK's official, independent producer of statistics. Gov.uk publishes government data, policy papers, and business guidance. Both are reliable, free, and authoritative, ideal secondary quantitative data. For a project on UK retail, for instance, you'd draw on ONS retail sales and business demography figures. When you need firm-level detail, business databases come into their own. FAME holds detailed financial data on UK and Irish companies, accounts and ratios. Statista and Mintel give market size, share, and consumer trends. And a company's own annual report tells you its account of its performance, though remember that's primary, but also promotional. Great for hard figures. Just always note who produced the data and why. Websites and grey literature are useful for current context. Trade bodies like the British Retail Consortium, Quality News, regulators. They're convenient and up-to-date, but quality varies enormously, so check who runs the site and whether they're trying to sell or persuade you. Wikipedia is a fine starting point, but not something to cite. Follow its references instead. As a rule of thumb, a .gov.uk or a .ac.uk site is usually safer than an anonymous blog. Not every source carries equal weight, so it helps to picture a hierarchy. Peer-reviewed research and official statistics sit right at the top. General websites and blogs sit at the bottom, needing the most caution. Aim to draw mainly from the upper levels and use the lower ones only for current context or a bit of color. So how do you judge whether a source belongs? A neat little checklist is the CRAAP test. It asks 5 questions about currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Run each source through it, and you produce exactly the justification the assessment is asking for. Let's take those 5 in turn. Here are the 5 criteria. Currency, how recent is it, and is it still up to date for your topic? Relevance, does it actually relate to your question at the right level? Authority, who wrote it, and are they a credible expert or organization? Accuracy, is it backed by evidence and references, and can it be verified? And purpose, why was it made? To inform, or to sell and persuade? That last one often reveals the bias. Now put it to work. Run every important source through those 5 questions. A weakness in one area doesn't automatically disqualify a source, but you should note it. Purpose is often the giveaway. Ask who benefits from you believing this, and record your judgment as you go, so you can justify each source later in the proposal without trying to remember your reasoning. Let's make that a routine you can follow. First, identify the author or organization and the date. Second, check authority. Are they qualified and independent? Third, test accuracy. Is it evidence-based and referenced? Fourth, judge the purpose, neutral or trying to sell. And fifth, decide, keep it, use it with caution, or reject it. And importantly, record why. It's worth separating scholarly from popular sources. Scholarly ones, peer-reviewed journals, ONS, academic books, are referenced, evidence-based, and written by experts, so they're reliable for your core argument, even if slower to read. Popular ones, news sites, blogs, company marketing, are accessible and current, handy for context and recent examples, but their quality varies and they can be biased or unreferenced. Use each for what it's good at. Every source has a purpose, and some exist purely to persuade or sell. A company report naturally shows the firm in a flattering light. A pressure group argues one side of a case. So when a claim is contested, cross-check it against an independent source before you rely on it. Drawing on several viewpoints is your best protection against a one-sided argument. Let me show you how justification looks in practice, as a little table. ONS retail sales, an official statistic chosen for reliable national data on the e-commerce trend. Saunders and colleagues, a textbook for authoritative method theory to design the study. A British Retail Consortium report, a trade body for the current industry view. 3 owner interviews, primary data for first-hand local detail the numbers can't give. And Financial Times coverage, quality press for up-to-date examples. Each one earns its place with a reason. Now watch a balanced source list come together for the e-commerce project. The theory layer is your research methods textbooks, Bell and Waters, Saunders and colleagues to design the study. The data layer is ONS retail statistics and Statista figures for the national picture. The industry layer is the British Retail Consortium and the quality press for current context. And the local layer is the learner's own interviews and questionnaire, the primary data. Together, they give a real range and support triangulation. As you find each source, record its full details straight away: author, year, title, publisher, URL, and date accessed. Reference in Harvard style, both in the text and in a reference list at the end. Doing so gives proper credit, lets readers check your evidence, and keeps you clear of plagiarism. An annotated bibliography, a list with a short note on each source, is a lovely way to track and justify your choices. Start that list on day one. Don't try to rebuild it the night before. Let's bring the thread together. Aim for a deliberate range, primary and secondary, academic and practitioner, more than one viewpoint. Prioritize authoritative sources and lean on general ones only for context. Evaluate each with the CRAAP test and record why it's appropriate, and reference everything accurately in Harvard style. A well-justified, varied source base is one of the clearest signs of a strong project. To sum up this outcome, your project is only as trustworthy as its sources, so choose a deliberate range and justify each one. Range means variety, primary and secondary, academic and practitioner, and more than a single viewpoint. Know your main types: textbooks, journals, ONS and Gov.UK statistics, FAME and Statista, company reports, and the quality press. Evaluate every source with the CRAAP test and stay alert to bias. And reference everything accurately in Harvard style, keeping records to justify your choices. That completes our final outcome, and with it, the whole unit on planning a research project. You've now got the tools to choose a credible, varied set of sources and to justify each with something like the CRAAP test. The reading list gathers trusted method guides alongside the official statistics and market data sites we've mentioned, so do dip into a couple that suit your topic. With a strong title, a solid plan, and a well-justified source base, you're genuinely ready to carry your project out.